Hello, everybody. This is Lehman Crafton Jr., aka Zorvalachan, Less Than Guru. And today we are continuing with the 31-day character creation challenge. We are on day 26. And today I decided to do something that wasn't just another second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. edition of other games that I did before. This will be a game that I bought pretty close, I guess, to when it came out around 1995 or so. And I never game mastered it and never played it. And actually, that's probably for a good reason. I just never I don't like selling games, even I don't like selling things actually, even if I don't like them. Um, it's just one of those weird things of mine that games that I don't like, I have maybe once in my life sold it back and got some credit for something, and then still am like, oh, I probably shouldn't have did that, just in case I ever would want to look at it again. But that's kind of what this game is here. The Rapture, the second coming. Um, I believe I read recently that it had made a D20 modern conversion in the early 2000s, but this is the original one that had its own based system in it. Um, and even though I don't like going off on rants on games that I have not played, I have read this, although it was a long time ago. I kind of re looked at it, wondering about was this going to be a character creation challenge that would make me spend a ton of time on it. And I think if I go through the basics, and it took me a while to get the basics again, but if I go through them and don't do all the optional things like I haven't been doing, I think I could probably get this character down. But this is a game that it says role playing game of theological terror. If you look through it, a lot of the artwork it varies. Like that one's not too bad. That's just a kind of a line sketch, but not horrible. And some of them are very 90s white wolfy. So there's kind of some weird and twisted things. Cover your eyes if you don't like to see gore, but things like that. You get a weird kind of, oh, I don't know, a weird kind of stuff going on. There is angels and demons and heaven and hell. It is a theological terror, rapture. Now, for some reason, they don't go full on board with a Christian type rapture. They try to say that all religions have some kernel of truth in them, but then most of the stuff is wrong. So even Christianity is mostly wrong, but there's a kernel of truth. But then there's a kernel of truth in Judaism and Islam and paganism and things all across the board, but they name it Rapture. So this is a book, in my opinion, that unless you're really one that is looking at this type of thing and wanting to play a end of earth or end of times game, it's gonna PO any religious person because it's not gonna go with what they believe. And any atheists and agnostics won't really care about role playing in a second coming of Jesus Christ. I mean, it is the second coming, rapture. It's all New Testament, the apocalypse, or as it said, that's Revelations in English, apocalypse in the original Greek. But it's just one of those games. It's like who's the audience for this, and it's kind of I don't know a little strange. The other thing that is, like I said, a lot of people would be disappointed because it doesn't go like the Bible's absolute truth. It's like the Bible has a kernel of truth. There is a rapture that happens. There are demons and angels fighting, and you are mortals caught up with it. and being mortals, you die. You die a lot probably. They have a chart here that is as gruesome as anything seen in Warhammer. I want to say they have different classes of like ammunition. If you get a gun and you shoot and you get hit by a gun, um, you have a pretty good chance of just dying. There's nothing really like hit points or things like that. Okay, so here we go. It is okay. If you want realism in your game, if you ever are playing D&D or anything, and somebody's like, "Hey, I want to do this because that sounds realistic," or "Realistically, I would be able to do this." Give them this game, and they will not want to play realistic games anymore. Again, it is a weird theological terror type game, but they have firearm trauma classes, and they go everything from a class 1, which could be a 22 caliber, so very small caliber millimeters, class 2. That's where you even get the 410 shotgun, which is pretty much the smallest shotgun widely available, all the way up to like class 4. But then you get shot and you roll. And the class 0, they even have a class 0, which is like BB guns and pellet guns and stuff like that. So you see that class 0 here. So it could be anything, is whether the person who shot you is considered untrained, novice, average, experienced, expert, or master. You basically roll. And I think it's a 2D what do I want to say, 2D10. And depending on what you roll, you hit or not, and then you go like here. All of these are misses. If you rolled, you want to roll high, but if you roll like high on a BB gun, a pellet gun, it says then you re-roll on the class 1. So then you re-roll again, and if you roll that high roll, untrained being an 18 to 20 and a master being a 13 to 20, you kill them. You're dead. BB gun killed you. Boom, you're dead. Start all over. And again, realistically, with it being a class 1, a 22, 22s do kill people. That is what the Night Stalker used. It's a very small caliber, but yes, realistically, boom, you can die. This one, it can like you can get so messed up in a limb that you have to have it amputated. Things like that. Realistically, yes. Having to go through character creation another time, not necessarily good. And if you've watched any of my videos, you will understand that I am not completely 100% on board with combat as sport. New school philosophy. I do agree with combat as battle, that things can be iffy, that if you get yourself in a bad situation and don't try to get out of it, then you dying is you chose to be more risky than you should have been. But a game that anybody can kill anybody with one hit, no matter what, that is even more along the line of never get into combat, period. You're in a combat between angels and demons, angels and devils, and why? No, sorry, because that was just the gun chart. I think they even have things that it's like if your creative powers trauma card. So if you get clawed by a demon or devil from either the first heaven or first house, then you can lose points permanently, your wound won't heal, and then it goes all the way to like the victim is ripped asunder, mortal victim dies in a state of gibbering madness. I mean, just you don't fight in this game. They give all of these rules for fighting, and you don't, or they give these charts to fighting, and it's even worse than Warhammer, because Warhammer, you didn't necessarily have to to do this unless you took a certain amount of damage. These are just your first roll of what happens. And here, there's not even a roll. It's just like, whoop! If you got punched, this is what happens. If you do this, happens. Like even the first heaven, you take 5 trauma points. If mortal, victim takes. Oh, if mortal, you take 10 trauma points. Wound has to be bathed in holy water to heal. And then the next step, wound must be blessed to heal. The third heaven, third hell, that's where it's a death. And that's just from punching, kicking, talons, claws, tentacles, tails, horns, and wings. And so, I mean, that's what the angels and devils do to you. So it's just one of those things where you spend a lot of time doing something, and then boom, you make a new character. Missile, melee missile. Class 1. This probably means it's not a toy Nerf gun. If you roll high enough, victim dies from shock. So, I mean, that's the type of game this is. So that was my my long 11-minute rant of why because there was a time where I was wanting to do something like uh, apocalypse game, a Rapture game, a Revelations type game. I wouldn't do that now, but back in the day, it was something that I was interested in. I tried it and failed it once, miserably failed it. I was very stupid at the time, also. So I bought this, just like, maybe this will be something that I will find enjoyment out of. And no, I found absolutely no enjoyment out of this game. But that might be something that you like. You might like this. And like I said before, if you watch my reviews and you disagree with me, then this will probably be a game system and book that you might enjoy. But I went through it a couple of times quickly, not in depth. And I think I can make a character in here. There's basically 3 kind of templates that you pile on each other or put on each other, overlap each other, and they give you basically the things that you need. So you have a character. Um, so defining the character, you get a background, and then there's things like you're from the projects, you're from gangland, you're from lower class suburbs, middle class suburbs, upper class suburbs, rural, or you're a military brat. Leaving out anything in the world that is not one of those. And it does say a great deal of work goes into creating a character, which is funny because then you can immediately die. It's a lot like a Palladium, depending on what you are and what game, it can be easy to die or not be easy to die. But they give that. They do actually say we suggest you trying to be different ethnic backgrounds that are not your own, so you can experience being somebody different. I think that's I won't say strange. It's just interesting concept. If people want to do that, I don't have a problem necessarily with it, but you have to be aware of not to then be a stereotype. So I would say this is for mature adult audiences and players, not just because of the theological terror, but from other aspects of this book. So then this is all kind of like in your mind thing. So alliance, are you aligned with the heaven, the celestialists? Are you allied with the infernals? Um, are you neutral? So we'll just go on. They have attributes: strength, aptitude, stamina, willpower, agility, spirituality, and faith. They actually break spirituality and faith. Faith is kind of like different as an attribute, you have points, faith points, and I think they're kind of like fate points or action points and stuff, character points in other games that you can spend during the game to do things. But it's kind of like Warhammer fate points, which once you use them, they don't just refresh. And then, so generating them is you roll 2d10, subtract 2. So you get a value, and I'll go ahead and guess my dice bag of the dice that I like the most are in this little thing that it was given to me by a boss for Christmas one year, and it had candy in it. And I have just ever since I put my dice in it to be funny, and they just have stayed here for 30 years. So it's unique. Nobody else will take my dice bag. So now you learn something about women. So I'll just roll 2d10 and figure out the generating the attributes. Again, you can go from 0 to 18 basically, and then you get some points later. I will take a index card and keep that there so I can roll. We'll just go down a little. So strength is 9 minus 2, which is 7. Aptitude is 12 minus 2, which is 10. 19 minus 2, so that is 17. So my stamina is my best, but I'm never going into battle. So that stamina will maybe be used from how fast and how long before I fatigue when I'm running from battle. 7 means I got a 5 in willpower. Agility would be a 12. Spirituality is a 12. And faith, 13 minus 2 is 11. Okay. So that is all of my attributes to start. Now I'll turn it this way because I believe I have points I can allocate. So all characters begin the game with 5 faith points. The character's faith score can never be raised higher than 10. Which is interesting because it has you roll with faith. Oh, sorry. It says all attributes with the exception of faith are determined by rolling 2d10. So faith starts at 5. Sorry. So why they have that listed as an attribute and not something completely separate, I don't know. So immediately I find something in the rules that I don't necessarily like. Trauma points. Whenever a character is wounded, the Oracle determines how much damage is done by referring to the trauma chart. So that's those charts I was talking about. This damage is temporarily subtracted from a character's current trauma point total. But they don't tell me how many trauma points you get. That based off of stamina. Stamina is one of 3 attributes used to determine character's trauma points and adds a modifier to all stamina-based skills. So again, they're not telling me though how to calculate. It's probably somewhere, but those I guess would be hit points, and you take a lot or you just die. So then, character's reality is broken down into 4 parts: paradigm, avocation, proclivity, and icon. So sorry, I think I said 3 earlier, but apparently there are 4. So paradigms are their chosen profession or career. So why they can't just call it a career or a profession, don't know. But there's things like archaeologist, bounty hunter, computer programmer, police officer, priest, professional criminal, professor, rabbi, televangelist, etc., etc. So let me looking at my stats. Willpower and strength are low. I guess willpower is also kind of like intelligence. Oh, my high ones are well, it's not going to be a okay. So let's be a mercenary. A mercenary, as soon as war comes out, he's going to run away. Oh, actually, mercenary is probably not a good. Okay, here, there we go. Drifter. We'll be a drifter. Um, Character has no profession. He travels freely from place to place and either acquires odd jobs to amass resources. The world has little need for a drifter. Because of this, they often slip through the fingers of great bureaucracies. The world's government, they are nameless, faceless, lifeless individuals who not warrant the interest or attention of those on high. Many drifters use this to their advantage, plying their trades behind the backs of government and industry. Okay, so then I get skills related to the paradigm of drifter are scrounge, survival, persuasion, and brawl. Okay, so I guess that would be these skills and levels. So scrounge, survival, persuasion, brawl. Okay, so that is it. There's nothing else. It's basically they each have about 2 paragraphs of fluff and then one sentence of the relevant information of the skills. So then I go through all of these mechanics and lots of other stuff. So then um, choosing a proclivity. This is a simplified definition of the character's basic personality. So you can be a hero, a defender, a judge, a counsel, a leader, follower, materialist, philosopher, strategist, negotiator, tyrant, catalyst, warmonger, peacemaker, zealot, or watcher. I am a drifter. So I am not a hero. I am not a defender. I am not a judge. I am not a counsel. I am not a leader. I'm not a follower because I do what I want. I'm not materialistic. Maybe philosopher, strategist, no negotiator, no tyrant, no catalyst. No, catalyst is when where powerful forces meet. We're not a warmonger, not a peacemaker. Watcher. Watcher is passive and non-committal and almost always refuses to take sides unless absolutely necessary. The times being what they are, this makes it very hard. So I'm choosing between the philosopher and the watcher. I will. I'll be the philosopher. The philosopher is a person of careful. No, I can't. Have a bad willpower. Watcher. So I will be a watcher. So watcher gets the authorities associated. So the other ones were skills. You know what I want to say? So the proclivity gives you authorities associated with the proclivity of watcher are area, object reading, and second sight. So these are kind of like the supernatural type thing. So I get area, object read, and second sight. Second sight. And then you have an icon, icon anti-prophet. So this is where it starts getting into various spiritual beliefs, like Christian icons, Catholic and Protestant, Islam, Judaism, pagans, modern way, sovereignties. Oh, okay. Each character, upon choosing an icon, receives a certain number of sovereignty. Listen to each icon description. Okay, so this is just talking about different things. So these would kind of be maybe character classes in other games. So like Knights of Columbus, Agents of the Holy Office, Order of St. George, things like that. So Swiss Guard, Knights of St. Patrick, Knights of Malta, monastic orders, Protestant ones, evangelical fundamentalists, Jewish icons. These are all faith ones. Wiccan agnostics. Okay, so they do have like an agnostic. The end times are here. Angels are demons and devils, but I'm not sure what to believe. Okay, so membership can be laymen of all races, genders, organizations, and backgrounds. Purpose to be religious in their own way, which may or may not coincide with the doctrines of organized religion or have any theological base at all. Okay, so normally you would get certain little things that you could do, like resistant to possession, demonic or angelic control, spiritual interrogation, things like that, destroy morale, danger sense, resistance to anger. But with the agnostic, it says, with the approval and ideally assistance of the oracle, is what they call the game master. The game master is the oracle. The player should select 3 sovereignties from those previously described in the above icon description. And if you join another icon, you lose, I guess, whatever your sovereignties are, and then you go back. I didn't see the application. Those are other ones that have skills, so I might have to look at that. So I get 3 of these things. If I'm going with like the area object second sight, I'm going to go with those type of sovereignties. Um, so let me just kind of go through and pick the first 3 that kind of hit me. Danger sense. Sovereignties are over here. Danger sense, so that would be 1. I guess the if you wanted to be min maxing, you could probably be a agnostic. Reflection. This is kind of a well, resistance to possession. Let me do resistance to fear and resistance to possession. Resist fear and resist possession. I see things with others and I keep myself from being affected. I want to figure out where these avocations are. And on the icon, you just have a index on the back. Allocation. They have a whole thing of four things that you're supposed to be: paradigm, avocations, icon, and proclivity. And in their index, they don't list avocations. So I'm having to kind of go through these again, see if I somehow missed one. Okay, here it is. I missed it. It kind of, to me, it seemed to bleed through with the paradigm. The avocation is your hobby. So my profession, my character class is drifter. Ah, okay. I guess I can write all those down here. Is drifter. I remember my icon was agnostic. So let me do the avocation and then I'll figure out what I chose for the proclivity because I can't remember. So activist, astrologer, athlete, fencer, fortune teller, gambler, hunter, hacker, martial artist, mechanic, medium, parapsychologist, scientist, scholar. Those sound more like professions to me and not hobbies, but okay. Terrorist? Oh, you can be a terrorist. That sounds wonderful. So, with all of these things, from the other stuff I was getting, I let me be a fortune teller. I'm a drifter fortune teller type person. So here you get other skills, and if I would happen to get one of these skills, then they would be at kind of like level 2. They'd add together and stack what it's saying. Um, so I get occult, palm reading, and read tarot. Okay. And then I just saw the proclivity was the thing where I chose to be a watcher and fortune teller. So I am a drifting, fortune telling, watching agnostic. I even have complexion instead of skin color or something. That's interesting. And I forgot I was supposed to get like modifiers or something to the attributes, so I'm looking about. Once this is accomplished, the player is given an arbitrary pool of 6 points. Why they have to say arbitrary pool and just don't say given 6 points to allocate to any of the 6 attributes except fate excluded, that you wish. The player should take care when allocating the 6 point pool so as to concentrate on the attributes that best fit his vision. No attribute may be raised higher than 18. So 6. So actually, kind of going with this weird fortune teller type thing, I want to get my willpower up. So I am going to put all 6 of those points into that. That was a 5, so that gets me up to 11. The other ones, so everything except for strength, is kind of in the middle ground with stamina being high. So you see that up in the upper left hand. Okay. We got the sovereignty. I got that. That was my icon. The icon gave me the sovereignties. That's what it was. Okay. So then they go through all of these skills, acquiring skills. In addition to those skills acquired when creating or when choosing a paradigm, avocation, and icon. The icon didn't give me skills; it gave me authority. One extra skill from each attribute-based skill group you can choose. This will give the player 6 additional skills, 1 strength, 1 stamina, etc. So that makes sense. The player then is allowed to choose 2 bonus skills at your discretion to assign to the character as a special areas of training. These bonus skills may be chosen from any attribute based. And this will make the character well-rounded. I will agree with that. So as much as some of the stuff haven't liked so far, that makes sense. You each one of these gives you some stuff. Then you pick one from each, although they don't give you a lot of places to write those. Then so they have this different levels. So the first level is like untrained, then novice, average, experienced, expert, master. And then they have different target roles depending on what you are doing. And then they have a attribute bonus penalty chart. So I finally can figure out what these bonuses are. So the 7 is a -1, the strength. The 10, 9 through 10s are 0, so I probably have a lot of those. Oh no, actually I have more. Oh, 9 through 12, sorry, are at 0. So that 11 is 0, that's a 0, that's a 0. Faith isn't one of those things. See, they even have the line continue instead of broken. But my 17 gives me a +2. So strength based, if I get brawl again, then that would be at that second level. So that would be my brawl. Stamina based. And there's not too many skills, but that doesn't necessarily, not having a lot of skills doesn't bother me. It's when you have 2 different skills, when you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. When you have like 13 skills, and one of them is alcohol tolerance, and the other is drug tolerance. And then you have climbing, hiking, hold breath, long distance running, privation, resist heat or cold, scuba, sleep deprivation, sprinting, survival, toxin resistance. And that's kind of it. So there's no like poison resistance in this. I don't know. When you get really specific, like you break up alcohol tolerance and drug tolerance, I guess toxin resistance would be that poison thing I mentioned, but it seems when you get very specific and you only have 13 actual skills, I'm not sure. I'd have to dig into that deeper. So let's see. I will pick alcohol tolerance. I was a drifter. I'm gonna write that here. Alcohol tolerance. Agility. There's a lot more agility ones. I will say that. So, escape. That sounds good. Now, if I don't have a letter or a number next to it, that just means that it's at 1. Aptitude. Disguise for foraging. Okay, so they have foraging for like outside environments, rural, I guess it would be. Oh, it says applies to both urban and natural environments. Foraging involves the search for food and water in an unknown or unforgiving environment. Where scrounging is in the urban jungle as well as the natural world, those who possess this skill are able to find specific needed items with little difficulty. Uh, the scrounging is items and foraging is food and water, I guess. And that's the difference. Interesting. But let's go ahead and choose that one for scrounging. I already have that, so that can be there. Willpower has drug resistance. Wasn't that a drug tolerance? Okay, that one's different. I guess one is not to be able to say no, and the other is after you have it. Resist fear. That will be my willpower based one. I'm just going to put a little bracket. These were actual authorities, and then the ones down here will be skills. And spirituality based. I see palm reading, and I know I have that one, so I'll make that one at a 2. So all the ones that don't have the 2 in front of them, those are untrained, I believe, and then all these would be novice. There's those untrained, novice, average, experienced, expert, and master. This is all skills chosen by a character during initial character development start at untrained. So all the ones that you have, you can do, they're just considered untrained, which is interesting. There's the other ones you cannot do. So authorities, those here. Which is interesting because I got 3. Maybe I got 2. Yeah, it's only the 2. You get 2. I must have written escape before I decided to bracket those 2 authorities. And then you can gain them as you gain, I guess, whatever they use for experience points. And then they talk about death and everything else and all the roles. Your, I believe your money is probably based off of what type of background you chose. And I want to say this was one that it was basically like you and the Oracle, the game master, get together and decide what is the best type of stuff for you to start off with. Um, everything else would be weapons, armor, equipment, and stuff like that. So I guess you just figure out what attribute it would, and then what target based off of the what level you're at. So the novice would, I think the unskilled was 8, so the novice would be 7. That's what you would be looking to roll. Go ahead. We'll say that this character is done. Now, I will say that even though I thought it was strange that they talk about these paradigms, which to me would just be a character class or profession, avocation, which they're like hobbies, but some of those seem like professions to me, etc. Doing the 4 things together didn't take a lot of time as much as I thought, and was easy. It was basically a read all this fluff, but then at the end, here's the information that you needed. Especially like the paradigm and the avocations, it was just like kind of here's what it is, and then here's the skills, and you just write down the skills. If they stack, then you got a 2 in it. If they don't, you have 1 at the end. Oh, I forgot, I should have picked 2 more skills. Um, but you understand. I would probably just maybe bump a couple of these up again, if allowed. So let's go to survival and escape. So those would be novice skills instead of gaining more untrained skills. Then these would be kind of special abilities, and the authorities would also be special things that I could do. Um, It does seem like a for doing tasks, it would be a simple system. Each of my skills is based off of an attribute that has an attribute bonus, negative or positive. They put a big space, I guess, so you can write what it is, but you could just write that. They could have broken up the character sheet better. That's nitpicking when I'm talking about problems with the character sheet. So it doesn't seem like too bad of a skill system. These four things, templates, kind of stacking on top of each other, wasn't too bad. It wasn't hard to figure out skills. I'd have to remember if when you're doing a skill, I think it was rolling a 2d10, but it might be a 1d10, and you're trying to get above a certain number on that. It might be a 1d10 because it gets down to about a 3, which would be almost impossible for 2d10. Let me look that up so I don't. Task resolution on a 10-sided. Okay, so you roll 1d10. Okay, so basically, if I'm rolling something based on strength, I'd roll a d10 and -1, so it would be a 2, so it was gonna fail. If I rolled higher, say an 8, that would be a 7, and if it was a strength thing that was based a skill based on strength, a 7 would be I needed at least a level 2 in it, then it would succeed. If it was still one of my level 1s, you need at least an 8. So the -1 would have hurt me, but if it was a stamina thing as a +2, then I would have succeeded. So that's not the um, very simple system that I don't think would be difficult in play. So I guess the main thing is wording that they used, and the whole premise. I think about this type of thing when I ranted for 11 minutes at the beginning of the video would be the kind of the block of it and the lethality of combat. And I'm not a person who is like, oh, combat should never be lethal. The hero or the character should always win. I'm absolutely not that at all. But I think this swings it really into the other direction, where if I don't have Torg archetypes where they're ready to go running, I don't want to have instant death be not just a possibility, like even in old school D&D, which you might have 1 or 2 hit points and you get hit once and you're dead, but even more so. Um, Again, I never did see where the trauma points are. I don't even see a place where they have that for trauma points here. But I never did find out where that what the 3 stats that calculate that is. Let me look that up real fast. And again, they don't. Oh, okay, 52, page 52. Never mind. I almost thought they didn't have that in the index as well. Nope, they just still don't. Character reduced to 5 or less. Character falls unconscious. So it's not a 0 to go unconscious, it's a 5 or less. And when you go to 0, then you're dead. Okay, here it is, very, very last. So that was me not reading all the way. I would have put it at the beginning, but that's not a fault of the book. It's just a fault of my mind. It's strength, stamina, and willpower. So strength is 7, stamina is 12, is 19, willpower is an 11. So that would be 30. So 30 trauma points. A lot of those things that I was showing against mortals will you take 10, usually around 10, 15, 5 maybe if they rolled really bad. Um, so you could take a few hits, and if you rolled bad, if you got a good hit on you, you would just die. Um, so that's how that works. So let me name the character. This is a modern setting. So I will name the character Bill Edwards. Put my name here. So after actually not reading, doing the actual character creation, and kind of stepping back from the setting, the system doesn't look terrible. So whatever I said at the beginning, a rant on this as a game and how it would be hard to get people to want to play this or game master it. The system itself, the rules, the mechanics don't seem terrible. Um, Choosing these four things wasn't too difficult. That aspect of it was actually pretty easy. I think I got a lot of skills that seemed useful. I do think some of the skills seemed a little overlapping, like scrounging. When you have a limited number of skills and you don't have a big exhaustive listing of skills, and when you have like scrounging and foraging and survival, all three skills, and it's like maybe there should other things be in there. There might be just one hacking. It doesn't care if you're doing Linux, Windows, or Mac, but that type of thing, or I think you understand what I'm saying. There's their breakdown. I'll say their breakdown didn't seem necessarily logical to me, but the way that it's built doesn't necessarily seem like a bad game. So I'll say the mechanics, the 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 structure of the mechanics, the foundation, the skeleton of the mechanics, and how they work. It's not bad, um, in my opinion. After making a character and kind of looking at how you do things, um, the random roll. I know sometimes that people don't like that, but you got 6 points to put. I could have put it into any of those. I could have got 17 up to 18 and had 5 more points, but I had that really low willpower that I wanted to get up, and not having a high strength wasn't that problematic for me. So Bill Edwards, the drifting, fortune telling, watching agnostic, or however you wanted to mix these around, for the 27th day of the 31-day character creation challenge. So until next time, I will catch you later.